Hello and a very warm welcome to this special Bengal polls debate on News Mobile. I'm Saurav Sanyal, and joining me today are panelists who possibly need no introduction. Chandra Kumar Bose from the BJP, Saira Shah Halim, political analyst and a keen watcher of Bengal politics, Tausif Ahmed Khan, a man who you have seen on television debates, who, if I may say so, is slightly tilted towards the TMC's ideology. I am also joined in by Shombit Pal, political commentator who's also recently authored a book, The Bengal Conundrum, where on the cover it has two big personalities who are fighting it out, as it were, this election season, Narendra Modi and Mamata Banerjee. Welcome all of you for taking time out and joining us on this show. Let me get started with you, Chandraji. Uh, I want to start by asking you the BJP's poll plank this election season. 5 states are going to polls, but the attention seems to be focused primarily on West Bengal. What explains that?
Well, West Bengal has always been a state which is politically charged. West Bengal has a lot of intellect. The people, the electorate of West Bengal are astute. So this time, what we would like the voters to do is to vote intelligently, because I think Bengal definitely needs a change. A change was brought about in 2011. The political change happened, but there was no change on the ground. There was no change in the life of the people. There was no change for industry, health, education. So I think Bengal is poised for a change once again, and the Bharatiya Janata Party, I feel, has an edge in bringing about this change, forming a government which would work. I think people of Bengal, they would like a government which works. Unfortunately, many commitments are made during the election. Many false promises are extended to the voters, but hardly any of it we see is actually, realized. Today, what we find is the Trinamool Congress is trying to implement certain schemes on the ground, but I think it is too little, too late. So it will not really cut much ice among the voters. So we want a government.
So you made two critical points over there, that Bengal possibly wants change, or Poriborton as we call it in Bangla. Let me take this question to Tausif now. Tausif, taking a cue from what Chandra Kumar Bose just said, he talked about that Bengal wants change. Now, Poriborton was the buzzword which in a way brought Mamata Banerjee at the helm of affairs here in West Bengal way back in 2011. What really has changed? Now, BJP has gone to town saying that ebar ashon poriborton hobe, or this will be the year of the real change. Chandraji has also talked about, some poll promises which are made by different parties, but then conveniently forgotten. But I must also add a caveat to it that we cannot say put any one political party, occupy a moral high ground as far as poll promises are concerned, because then by that yardstick, every political party is guilty of doing the same. Tausif, Poriborton once again becoming the buzzword in Bengal?
No, Poriborton in the sense whether people of Bengal has made up their mind to oust Mamata Banerjee from the government, that is not the case. Poriborton in the sense, yes, there should be more development work, absolutely correct. With over time, things must develop, and therefore all efforts should be made for that. If we're talking about BJP and their promises, they are a hypocrite. They talk about women reservation in their manifesto, but BJP is in power for the last 6 years in parliament. Why are they not passing the women's reservation bill for women candidate? Let us reserve the parliament seat, about 33% or 30% of parliament seat for women. They will not do that. So this is a hypocrisy. If we are talking about the functioning of the Bengal government, you see, all the decisions so far which have been taken by the Bengal government were taken independently by the Bengal government from Kolkata, from Nabonno. What if BJP comes to power? All the decisions on behalf of the West Bengal government will be controlled remotely from Delhi. Is that what the people of Bengal want? I don't think people of Bengal does not want that. People of Bengal would like to keep this independence, would like to keep this authority to themselves, that the government of West Bengal should be run by the Bengali people, and should all the decisions should be made. And even if it involves, to disagree with the center, they would do that. Mamata Banerjee does that. Every time there is a disagreement, she is not scared of the powerful BJP leader or the kind of huge power and the
Okay,
huge
that brings me to my next question. Tausif, 2 points that you touched upon, and I would take this question to Saira. Saira, he talked about that people of Bengal want someone from Bengal to be ruling Bengal per se, or to be, presiding over affairs in Bengal, and it should not be remote controlled by the bosses in Delhi. Second, in a way that also underlines what Tausif just said, the entire insider versus outsider debate that seems to be, sending poll pundits into a tizzy this election season, because who is an outsider, who is a Bohiragato, as the Trinamool Congress has gone to town saying that, there are Bohiragatos as external agents who are coming down, who are flying in during the election season. They've called them election tourists, and they will disappear soon after. On the other hand, the BJP has hit back saying that, this is the land of Rabindranath Tagore, this is the land of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, this is the land of Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, where everyone was an Indian first. So this theory on which the Trinamool is trying to attack BJP does not hold ground. We are talking of Poriborton. Tausif says, yes, Poriborton is indeed what is playing on everyone's mind, but it's Poriborton for the better in terms of better governance. And that can only be done if there is a political party which is deeply entrenched in Bengal, knows the Bengali ethos, and runs Bengal from Kolkata and not from Delhi. Saira.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. See, in between Poriborton and Asal Poriborton that BJP is trying to brandish, there is a middle ground. And I feel, they are political parties who have categorically, said a resounding no to the politics of corruption and the politics of communalism. So they are political parties that have fielded young and capable candidates who are idealistic in nature. They have a clean record. You look at their criminal record, you look at, the kind of work they've done. They've all been ground workers. And I'm glad that, the Congress and the left parties have, made this coalition wherein, if you look at, the TMC, the three main poll managers have all been accused of scams. In fact, I'll rather put it crudely, they're scamsters. You talk about, Shobhan Chatterjee, Shubhendu Adhikari, you talk about Mukul Roy. All these people, these three main poll managers, their hands are tainted, and they've been gross allegations of corruption. So today, if a political party feels is going to make inroads into Bengal with tainted people from another party, you will just be any other turncoat. So if BJP wants to, win over the hearts of the people of Bengal, it should first start with fielding people with a clean record, people with a clean past and a future to begin with, not somebody who's spilling toxicity in the campaign, not someone who's out there spilling vitriol and who is only engaging in diatribe, Hindu-Muslim diatribe. No, you do not go and campaign on Hindu-Muslim diatribe. You go campaign on policies, on matters of governance. And that is a reason Mamata Banerjee, whom everybody respects, gained prominence in West Bengal, because her policy of populism, her welfare schemes were successful. Unfortunately, what has happened, Saurabh, is that her key people have turned to be turncoats of the worst possible way. You look at what is happening in Nandigram. It is appalling. I mean, somebody who was actually Didi's right-hand man is actually, her main competitor, and a competitor who's going about town, spilling such venom. It is absolutely, everybody's left aghast.
But then the big question is it right to, say that only one political party is spilling venom? Because we have also seen the Chief Minister label her political opponent in Nandigram as a snake who she nurtured with milk and with bananas. So let me take Nandigram, since we are talking of Nandigram, let me take it to Shobhit. Now, Shobhit, I remember, was on the field when at the peak of the anti-land acquisition movement in 2007, and Bhumi Uchhed Pratirod Committee, and a nodal body that was formed, and Sheikh Sufyan was the man who was instrumental at that point in time, resisting against any attempts to grab lands of farmers. Today is Mamata Banerjee's election agent in Nandigram. Now, Shobhit, Nandigram 2007 and Nandigram 2021. It's been quite a long gap in terms of if you just calculate numerically, but on the ground, a lot has changed. What's your perception at this point in time? You've been monitoring it very, very closely all these years.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, Saurabh, that what we see in Nandigram today is nothing of what we had seen in 2007 in Nandigram. If you remember, sort of, you and me were, some of the first journalists to reach there in Nandigram on that fateful night in January. And we had seen the next morning when people had come out with, black flags. There was no, Hindus and no Muslims there. It was the villagers who were agitated, who were, afraid that they would lose their land, they would lose their, residential plots, and that's how they had come out protesting this government decision, or the local body's decision to acquire about 10,000 acres of land in Nandigram. So that was Nandigram that we had seen, that there was no division on the communal line, there was no division on any other religious colors. It was all between, the Bhumi Uchhed Pratirod Committee, which was comprised of various opposition parties at that time. On one hand, on the other hand, there was these left supporters who were also, ousted from that village. But today there is nothing left of that movement that that we can see in the campaign. What is a campaign? The campaign is about someone calling the chief minister, the Begum. Someone is terming that, saying that this Nandigram will be turned into mini Pakistan, and on the other hand, the response is that someone is reciting slokas from Chandi, hopping from temples to temples, and you have already mentioned that how each other. This main opposition party, Shubhendu Adhikari and Mamata Banerjee, these opposing candidates, how they are terming each other in the campaign. And so the very sad campaign that I can see in Nandigram. Nandigram and Singur were not what we had seen and what we wanted to be in this campaign. The campaign should have been on the lines of industrialization there, employment, the local issues. Like in Bankura, I heard one of the candidates talking about drinking water, irrigation water. So what are these are the issues that should be discussed, and not who is going to which temples, and who is good at reciting slokas from different.
Yes, and who is a better Hindu? A Hindu,
who is a better Hindu,
and
yeah,
who's a Muslim. So this Begum analogy that you talked about, that recently came up for our viewers in one of the campaign rallies that Shubhendu Adhikari held towards the close of the campaign for the hotly contested Nandigram seat. Now, Chandra Kumar Bose, let me take this question to you. BJP has been accused time and again of fomenting communal politics. That Jai Shri Ram, more than a religious slogan, is today a slogan to score political brownie points. The Trinamool Congress, the left, everyone says this is what has given the BJP rich dividends in the past in other states, and it's the same formula, the same model that BJP possibly wants to replicate here in Bengal as well. How would you want to react to this? And these are very important points that Shobhit touched upon. Why isn't no one talking about jobs? Why isn't no one talking about industrialization? What about the youth? What about employment avenues? What about a better future and a brighter future for the state per se? Why is everything in a way drowning in the cacophony surrounding this Hindu-Muslim polarization debate? Chandra Kumar Bose.
See, since independence, appeasement politics, vote bank politics, divisive politics have been encouraged by all political parties in our country. It is unfortunate. But the Bharatiya Janata Party, under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, our motto is Sabke Saath Sabke Vikas, Sabke Saath Sabke Vishwas. Yes, this has to be implemented on the ground. And that is the responsibility of all party members and activists. But our leader is very clear in his concept. Yes, Nandigram, certain communal issues have been raised, which I don't support at all, and which my leader doesn't support at all. But there are parties, there are people in our party who have raised these issues. Certainly Nandigram, the development of Nandigram, industry in Nandigram, job creation in Nandigram, sanitation facilities, drinking water. These are the major issues which should be highlighted by all political parties.
Absolutely.
And what
These
exactly
are issues
are they
that
going
should
to
be
do?
highlighted and should have been highlighted. Unfortunately, it has never found the prominence that it ought to have got during this election season. Tawseef,
Agreed.
if I may just bring you in, while on one hand the BJP is accused of painting the entire state with a communal brush, trying to divide Bengal, which takes pride in its secular credentials, into a Hindu versus Muslim, a very, very polarizing political narrative. But on the other hand, the Trinamool Congress has also drawn a lot of flack. And even we've spoken with some senior leaders from within the party who say that, yes, as Amit Shah calls him, the Bhaipo, or the rise of the nephew within the Trinamool Congress to a position of absolute authority and power, overriding all other senior leaders in the party, and the corruption charges that the party now finds itself stuck deep inside. These are going to be the nemesis for the Trinamool Congress. Would you agree?
Of course not. BJP is talking about second generation politicians or third generation politicians. They must look at what they have done. There are dozens of relatives of politicians who are with BJP. If BJP talks about corruption, why did these corrupt leaders who till before they joined BJP, there was a video put up on the website by BJP of Subindu Adhikari and others taking money. Those videos have been removed, but because now these corrupt leaders have joined BJP, so they have been washed as if BJP is a washing machine. So
then are you then trying to say that there are corrupt leaders still within the Trinamool Congress? Or are you saying that all corrupt leaders from the Trinamool Congress have migrated to BJP?
No, I am saying that BJP cannot argue on the point of corruption because they are themselves part of this corruption. They are themselves giving shelter to these corrupt leaders. Take an example of what is happening in Karnataka, the chief minister of Karnataka. There was CBI inquiry, there was everything, and everything is stopped after he was made a chief minister again. I am saying that BJP must practice what they preach. Giving someone one's due does not become appeasement. This is what BJP.
So that's a highly debatable point, Tawseef, that giving someone one's due, that's a very, very loaded statement. I would like to bring in Saira also on this. Saira, while you've talked about turncoats, and we've seen that the Trinamool Congress this time around has been hit by one defection after the other across the party's rank and file, including very senior leaders. But Saira, also the ideology of the left, and why I ask you this is because you come from a family where, for our viewers who don't quite know, Saira's father-in-law, Hashim Abdul Halim, was a very respected politician who was the Speaker of the West Bengal Assembly for decades. The party has believed in left ideology. Saira, I would want to know from you, in that famous brigade rally where the left, the Congress came together and joined hands with a Muslim cleric whose videos instigating people, calling for annihilation of a particular community, that started going viral. How does the left also, which has so far maintained its quote-unquote secular credentials, how does the left align with that kind of a partner, the Indian Secular Front, at this point in time, Saira?
Okay. So the thing is, Saurav, even if there have been any incendiary statements in the past, okay, so what is now left is looking at is collaborations. Now you leave your religion at home, whether it is a skull cap, whether it's a beard, whether it's a tilak or whatever it is, leave your religion at home. One thing that the ISF is doing, the candidates, the left has been very clear and categoric. Then when you're out in the battleground, when you're out campaigning, when you're out and you have formed a coalition, there'll be no talk about religion at all. So whoever has said whatever, there is a
So you're saying the
moment.
past is all forgotten?
No, no, I'm not saying past is forgotten, Saurav. Like, for example, let me give a very small example. Shiv Sena, isn't that supposed to be a communal party? But in Maharashtra, we've seen a coalition between the Congress and the Shiv Sena. Now, you tell me there is enough vitriol and diatribe and communalism floating from majorly all BJP leaders. Mr. Bose is an exception. I'll say I know him personally. He's a very fine gentleman, but most of the leaders are extremely toxic. I mean, their entire policy is based on inflammatory remarks and nothing on policy, nothing on governance, nothing on your manifesto, just incite people. So there are people from all spectrums who are making such kind of inflammatory statements. The idea is now, if you have something in the past, said something in the past, of course that cannot be redeemed, but you can always pull up your socks, especially now when you were not a political person. Now that you're a political person, okay, now when you're a political
But
person, you
Saira,
have to
going
be
by that logic,
conscious.
many people say that this is like a marriage of convenience that has happened. Let me bring in Shombit at this point in time. Shombit, in elections in Bengal traditionally have been fought on very, very different planks. We have seen all these years, be it state elections, be it general elections. This time around, identity politics, your religious allegiance, that seems to be dominating the discourse. Caste politics is coming into play here in West Bengal, which we have never seen in the past. Uh, who would you think is responsible for this kind of a political narrative that we are seeing now, and what could this lead Bengal to? That could in a way sum up also the debate that we've had so far. All different points of view have come in from it. So if you could just collate everything and put it out for our viewers.
Exactly, sort of this identity politics is something new that we see in this election. And I'll blame all the political parties. It's not just BJP or TMC or the left. It's because of the left's decline. Of course, BJP got a space as opposition party. They have separate set of ideologies and long-term goal, and they're pursuing that. Now people are angry with TMC because of several reasons. One of them is of course grassroots level corruption, and of course they were angry with TMC for many other reasons, and that had reflected. And of course 2018 panchayat election, in which TMC won about 34% seats uncontested, that also created a lot of resentment among the people in the rural areas. And that reflected in 2019. They found BJP to be a stronger opposition to TMC. Now, TMC has fallen into this trap of identity politics that has been floated by BJP. So this is happening at different layers. In fact, Chandra Kumar Bose was saying that, Mr. Bose was saying that Prime Minister is talking about development. He is a person. Exactly. We have seen that, how he is talking about. A lot of leaders are talking about double engine government and how the governments both the center and the state will help the state to grow, and the Prime Minister is setting out a lot of benchmarks which they want to touch if they come to power in West Bengal. But there are politics in different layers that's inflicting West Bengal. There's polarization at different levels. If you go to Asansol, it's a polarization between Hindi speaking non-Bengalis versus Urdu-speaking non-Bengalis. If you go to Nadia, it will be Motua versus Bangladeshi Muslim infiltrators. If you go to other places, it will be Adivasis versus someone else. So this kind of polarization is happening at micro level, and Mamata Banerjee has tried to address this by forming development boards for SC, STs, Adivasis, Rajbongshis, and all other communities and ethnic groups that are present there. And she's not being able to control this whole politics because she's being reactive to what BJP is doing. And unfortunately, left is a marginal force as of now, what we can see, because people will vote for the person or the candidate either if he's close to that close to the electorate, there is a very popular leader, or someone who would be better opposition to any political party. Unfortunately, this identity politics that we haven't seen after independence, that is coming up. Communal politics, identity politics, that is dominating the political narrative in West Bengal in this election. And I think either be it TMC or BJP, or if at all, ISF or Samyukta Morcha comprising of Congress, ISF, and left, if they come to power, this politics will be here in West Bengal for many years to come.
Yes, so the polscape of West Bengal in a way changes completely, and the real issues which affect all of us here, not just who are participating in this discussion, but also for our viewers who are watching the broadcast, that in a way real issues seem to have taken a backseat this election season as far as West Bengal is concerned. And just to give a sense to those who are tuning in, that when you drive down Kolkata streets now, you have these huge hoardings, larger than life hoardings with smiling face of Mamata Banerjee plastered all over and captions written in Bangla with iconic images of Bengal, be it temples, be it Rasgulla, the quintessential essential Bengali sweetmeat, that Bangla nije meke chai, or Bengal wants its own daughter. On the other hand, countering that are huge hoardings which have been put up by the BJP, which have only one singular identity in a way put up on those posters, that is of Narendra Modi, which says Ebar Ashol Poriborton, that this is the time for the real change, so to say, as Saira also pointed out. But then I guess all of us will have to keep our fingers crossed. We'll have to wait till 2nd of May, because as the saying goes, that is Janta Janardhan, and the voters know what's best for them. But having said that, I must thank all of you for joining me, for sharing your insight on this very keenly watched Bengal polls. Honestly, I don't recall in my professional life when there has been so much of spotlight on Bengal. Thanks all of you for joining in. We'll have to reconnect again once the results are out to see that, whether BJP's Sonar Bangla actually takes shape, or Bengal once again votes for its own daughter, Mamata Banerjee. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.